You know, I wonder, though, often we see this, and this is a local election. New York does not operate in a vacuum. It competes with other cities. And so this idea of somehow raising taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers, who, by the way, I would point out, pay roughly 15% of their income right now between city and state, raising taxes on them will simply drive them away. Shouldn't the focus of a mayor be on delivering services to the constituents of the city and doing that by raising the most revenue as possible without chasing businesses and the high-income taxpayers out of the city? Because they can go to Austin, they can go to Dallas, they can go to Atlanta, they can go to Nashville. This is your issue. It's a national issue, not a local issue.
The issue is affordability. Do you know how many working families are chased out of New York City every day because they can't afford housing, they can't afford groceries, they can't afford child care? What Zoran is saying is, I want people to be able to afford to live in New York City. That's what keeps it a vibrant city. That's what makes people want to live
Nobody
here.
disagrees with that, Senator, but raising taxes in order to do it?
Oh,
why is that the answer?
Oh dear, are you worried that billionaires are going to go hungry?
No, I'm worried that they're going to leave and spend their money elsewhere.
You know, they've threatened, and he didn't win by one vote.
No, he won by a lot. It's very much unclear he
lot.
has the ability to actually do it, by the way, based on the laws and what the governor has to say and what he would actually have to do.
You know,
Zoran is literally attempting to do what conservatives say, we want to do, which is provide gender-affirming care to anyone who wants it for free, and we're going to ship people, we're going to fly people in and pay for their hotel rooms, and we're going to do all of the Fox News stuff. We're getting ideas from Fox News. I want to know, hey, we'll do that. We're like that. We wrote the platform with him. The team was so happy to work with us on this. And now he's going to be mayor. New York City could provide trans health care for every trans person in the country who, can't afford it. And it would be a blip on our radar.
To where people can understand that this really is a battle of kingdoms. It really is. I mean, even if you look at the list, you'll look at the Assyrians, fear and domination, terror and siege, will and safety. They target your will and safety. Okay, what's about to rise? What two nations are about to rise? Actually, three nations are about to rise in New York City. Watch this. Here we are, Politico. New York Dems line up to defend Mamdani from Trump, even if they don't endorse him. Why are you instituting and defending Mamdani? And what exactly is it that Mamdani is trying to do? What does he want to put in place? What is his policies put in place? That's real easy. So we have the Democratic Party supporting Mamdani. All right, let's go see what people who are associated with Mamdani are saying they're going to do, so we can see what spirit city is descending like a damn UFO spaceship out of the sky from Close Encounters. No, from what's the movie with Will Smith in it? From and the spaceship came out the clouds and was over the city. Remember before Will Smith? Well, he probably was being freaky back then. You know what I'm saying? Will Smith probably been, I don't know. We're going to leave Will and Jada alone. They ain't the point. You know the movie where he was fighting the aliens and the ship came out of the sky like, pushing through the clouds. That's what's happening to New York right now. Let's go see what city is about to land in New York. Yeah. What city's about to land? And then we'll determine, we already know what the Democratic Party is. They are like a European Union of a spiritual city union. There's Sodom and Gomorrah there. There's Canaanite cities there. There's Assyrians in there. There's Babylonians in there. They're like the spiritual city union where they all together. You can find a little bit of anything you want over there. You know what I'm saying? And now let's see what they're forcing on the necks of the New York people.
money.
To Wall Street. How is this not a unifying message, not just for Democrats, but for everybody in the working class and the middle class?
You got it, Joe. It is. And in fact, That's the mayoral race right now in New York City. That's Zohran Mamdani. How does this young guy come in, doesn't have the money to spend that Cuomo has, doesn't have the position that Adams has, doesn't have the backing of the billionaires? How does that work? He comes in and he talks about how to make New York City affordable for families. And he says, we got to talk about housing, we got to talk about the price of groceries, and we got to talk about childcare. Because without those young families who are trying to make it, people can't make it in New York City unless they're rich. And he wants to make this city work for working people. And that's what it's all about. That's why I think this race in New York City is so important, because Zohran managed to win by talking about affordability. Democrats across this country will win by talking about affordability. And then, and here's the key, not just talking about it, delivering on it.
Pocahontas agrees with Zohran, but let's see what Zohran people saying he's setting up in New York City. Now, how this is going to work with Islamicists invading the city and these liberals thinking they're going to get away with doing whatever they want to do, I can't tell you, because this dude right here is retarded. If he thinks that they're not going to want to bring Sharia to New York City. Yeah. You got to understand. What happened in New York City on the third floor was a blood sacrifice. We can go into another video. That was a blood sacrifice of a CEO in a high place in New York City. That's why I was on the 33rd floor. And it was 2 sacrifices made. Not just 1, 2. The CEO and the man who killed the CEO. But we're not going to get into all that right now. We're just going to stick and focus on Zohran, the Zohranians, the Mamdamians, and their retardation.
Zohran is literally attempting to do what conservatives say, we want to do, which is provide gender-affirming care to anyone who wants it for free, and we're going to ship people, we're going to fly people in and pay for their hotel rooms, and we're going to do all of the Fox News stuff. We're getting ideas from Fox News. I want to know, we'll do that. We're like that. We wrote the platform with him. The team was so happy to work with us on this, and now he's going to be mayor. New York City could provide trans health care for every trans person in the country who, can't afford it. And it would be a blip on our radar. Zohran is literally
Yeah. And so New York City is going to take its tax-based dollars and pay for transgender care. So when you start talking about cities that are trying to be established, spiritual cities that are trying to come down out of the clouds, then what are you seeing? Do I need to show you some more about what Mamdani said himself? Hold on. Let me go show you what Mamdani says himself. How about we take a look here? Let's start right here with what he really, really wants. It's kind of boring to me to even talk about it, but we do need to dig into it because we need to lay a foundation for a complete understanding of what we're up against. But it's boring because once you see it from this perspective, you can't unsee it. You're going to see everything from this perspective. And the craziest thing about this is they tell you what they're going to do.
I am not defunding the police.
Mamdani called to defund the police in 2020 and said that the NYPD was, quote, racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety.
But some of his other positions are like defund the police.
Are you for defunding the police?
In this first year, we need to take $1 billion out of that budget. I'm running for state assembly because it's time to make Albany accountable to Astoria, rolling back the power and the presence of the police.
Why are we spending as a city almost $6 billion on the NYPD?
I would say is when we cut $3 billion or however much we can get cut, whether it's more, I'm not running to defund the police.
Of course, he wants to defund the police. And of course, the reason why he wants to defund the police is because he wants to bring in lawlessness. And it's like, stop. I don't know why these stupid pop-ups keep happening. You have these, I will call it spirit city stacking is what's going on. So you have one city stacked on top of another city, stacked on top of another city, stacked on top of another city. And they're building an entire infrastructure that supports the artificial intelligence city, which I would call the city of AI. I mean, it's just, but it's all these little different components going in. And what I mean by that is this. Zoran Mandami gets in and defunds the police, right? Which he's a liar. First of all, he's a Muslim. Muslims practice taqiyya, and they lie. They have the right, according to their religion, to lie to infidels. If you dumb if you don't realize that you are infidel to them. That ain't their fault. That's your fault because you stupid. So they have the right to lie to you. So according to his religion, him lying is righteous. So all this typical American politics, oh, he lied. That don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing to them. So when he says I'm not defunding the police and he gets in and he defunds the police and crime goes out of control, that works for the larger spiritual city of AI, because now they can bring in all of their AI technology to track and control and monitor people. So he's a tool. And he's agreed to be a part of their system, and they'll let him rule and reign. But when he messes up, they got his behind on facial recognition too. They spying on him too. Because the larger system is the one that you need to worry about. It's the major one. Are you seeing the pieces of the puzzle? Am I doing a good job communicating this to you? I'm trying my best to get it all laid out to you in a manner in which you can see it seamlessly. It's not a very easy task to lay it all out in one video. I don't think it's even possible to lay it all out in one video. But I'll take you someplace else. Now, this is where maturity, this is where we're gonna understand that, not maturity. This is where you have to be for the kingdom of God and understand that vain is the help of men. When we go to this next section, you need to understand vain is the help of man is what the Bible says. And this is where you can't have any rose-colored glasses on, because you got to go to a hard place to hear some things that may or may not be true, so we can go back and research them. Hold on. Now let's go. We're going to take a look at this other city. And I want to say this. If you're in the kingdom of God, you're taking all data points. There's no data point that you don't take in because of personal preference over an individual. You understand what I'm saying? And the reason why we take in all data points is so we'll have enough knowledge and information so we can take it back to our central place and inquire of the Holy Spirit to figure out what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? You can take it to your altar of prayer, to your prayer closet, and say, hey, big guy, what's going on with this? Is this person telling the truth? Am I getting played here? But you got to have the data. In fact, everything in this world is driven by data points. The only thing that AI is doing is simulating how your brain works. And the reason why it's hard for the average person's brain to work properly is because, hell, we're under assault by 5G, 4G, dopamine hits. Everything you can think of, food, air, and water, our brains aren't functioning the way they need to function. So they dumb down the average human brain and they decide to replace human thought with computer thought. Yeah. Anyway, let's get it.
So I think they put Trump in to get the control grid. And we have at Solari, we have a collection that we update every week of all the things the administration is doing to build the control grid. And I have to tell you, if I had chosen Trump to get the control grid and I was going to grade him on his performance to date, he gets an A+++. He's done a fabulous job. And I can't imagine another politician who could have done this much this fast. So, but if you look at what they've achieved, I don't think they need Trump anymore. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get rid of him, but if they want to get rid of him with Epstein, they can. It will work.
Yeah,
I just
I'm so surprised that, to me, it's quite obvious that Trump is on the list because they were besties. But if he's on the list, and he knows, of course, he will be on the list, why was he making Epstein so important during his campaign? Because, of course, that would backfire at some point. It doesn't seem logical for Trump to to use Epstein as a trump card in the campaign?
So I don't know if he was using it a lot in the campaign. I think Kash Patel was using it a lot, and I think Dan Bongino was using it a lot.
Well, at least his team was using it, right? So, and also all his supporters were vocal about it, and he could have stopped it back then already. And now it's too late to get the genie back in the bottle.
So here's who pushed it, and I didn't realize this until recently, because I was very early on in saying QAnon was a hope porn and ridiculous and not to pay any attention to it. But what I didn't understand was QAnon made a very big deal about Epstein and pedophilia and Trump secretly cleaning it all up. And, basically the Democrats were engaged in pedophilia and they were at the heart of Epstein, and Trump was going to secretly clean it all up. So QAnon apparently made a huge deal about Epstein. And, that is seriously, in my opinion, and I say this because I know many people trapped in it, it's a cult. It's just a completely adult fairy tale. But they believed it. And so now that he's coming out and saying, it was a hoax, Epstein is a hoax, it flies completely in the face of the cult. So now we've got a really big problem. And I don't know why he didn't put it back in the box. I don't know why.
Yeah, and it's too late now, I think, especially since Musk is saying he's on the list. To me, it all seems like a trick to, in the end, get rid of Trump and then continue with Vance, who is already part of the Palantir and Peter Thiel gang anyway.
If the people who run the system want Trump out, they can use Epstein to do it. It will work. And they can get him out by the end of the year if they want.
Now, mind you, that audio clip was from the time period when everything was going crazy over Epstein. Since then, Epstein has kind of died down. But the part that I wanted you to be aware of was the part about the control grid. And then there was something else that came out, an accusation that J.D. Vance was down with Peter Thiel and all the rest of these groups of people. And see, these are little rabbit holes that we need to explore. And the reason why I say we explore these rabbit holes, because if there's any truth there, now I'll tell you where I stand on the Epstein thing. I've said it over and over and over again. I said what she said about QAnon. It was QAnon that started this, because nobody knew about Epstein Island until QAnon made it a big thing. And I said that QAnon was artificial intelligence. I'm still going to tell you that QAnon is artificial intelligence. There's no way a human being is going to pinpoint all those data points and just keep on doing it. Now, the original QAnon probably was some of the good guys. The QAnon that people are looking at right now, that is AI. I'm sorry. It's AI. It's obvious that it's AI because it did a whole grid and it's updating the grid based upon events while tracking all the events that have happened. And so in order, you have to have all these possibilities laid in front of you. This possibility, this possibility, this. That's a damn AI. It may be the earliest, it may be DARPA AI, the original black box from 2008. The ones that, that were completely allowed to roam free and develop other languages amongst themselves. Because that happened. Everything that you see with AI right now, that you see the open AI people and Anthropic people talking about, were things that DARPA was saying they were experiencing 10, 12, 13 years ago. So we're gonna table the whole issue of QAnon because I don't want to go down that road. But I want you to just think for a second. We'll put some weight on what she says based upon our own research. Many times people add weight and credibility to what someone says without doing any research, without going to look for themselves. They add weight and credibility. So how do we go look for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen? Let's go take a look. Hold on. Just for the record, this has been divided, be divided into 3 parts. But let's just go. Let's go. So here we are at Captain Austin Fitz Twitter page. Let's go a little further. And Let's take a look. Fast approaching digital control grid. Checklist for Trump administration. Actions to date, July 17th, 2025. A complete re-engineering of U.S. government through digital systems is now possible at high speed. Summary. An all digital currency and monetary system is essential to institute a digital control grid. True. The Genius Act there is support for legislation to create digital stablecoin infrastructure. Presumably, this can be used to create a programmable monetary system in both the U.S. and globally, in essence, a private CBDC. More on the Genius Act added in July 18, 2025, exposing a dark substack. Stablecoins will likely eventually replace all cash and would enable governments to freeze the accounts of anyone declared in violation of lawful federal or state branch regulations, such as vaccine mandates passed down in 2021 by HHS. Trump is doing the exact opposite of what he pledged. He said he would ban CDBCs, but stablecoins are very important respect of CDBC. So make sure that's on the screen for you to see. Yes, let's shrink that down. I want to apologize. All right. That's what I just read. We'll go and let's see what's being said about stablecoin. Now we're going to go to our resources and find out. And so my first stop is going to be Alex Jones. Let's see his opinion on the situation. And again, we're not just going to take his word, because taking his word will make us a hypocrite. But we're trying to find an opposing opinion and then go down the rabbit hole. But we need two opposing opinions. We got Caroline Austin Fitz's opinion. Let's get the opposing opinion and see where we stand.
The corporate media, they can't defend themselves. They don't want free speech. And they don't want these type of open discussions to be had. So go to the top of Real Log Shows on X, the live feed up there, and share it right now, and tell those you share it to share it, and tell those they share it to share it, and that creates the chain reaction. Alex Jones debates Nick Fuentes on Trump's administration's handling the Jeffrey Epstein firestorm, immigration policy, support of Israel, crossfire hurricane, and more. Absolute must-watch. Share live feed.
InfoWars.
All right. Definitely a Mossad CIA honeypot. Nick Fuentes in about 26, 27 minutes will be joining us for the discussion, the debate. Now, looking at other issues, I've talked to a lot of economists, a lot of experts, looked at the legislation. The Genius Act, we were told, was a central bank digital currency. You could argue some of that can be used for that, but really it's undermining the EU central bank, the Chinese central bank, and their attempts to bring out their global currency. Trump's trying to bring in a bunch of private currencies and make America the center of cryptocurrency, which is happening, and the center of innovation. So you have a problem with technology itself, but the point is having it here makes our economy dominate. So Nigel Farage was on Fox News talking about this and just talking about the fact that I played this clip today with economist Kirk Elliott on the show, the head of the European Central Bank, private central bank, saying, oh, we're caught flat-footed. Oh, my God, what Trump's doing, we're not going to be in control anymore. Central banks are in trouble because these are private currencies, and as long as there's diverse and a bunch of them, that's the answer. You don't want one centralized system. So the globalists are upset about what's happening. This is a big deal. Here it is.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, perhaps the most prominent advocate of that dreaded COVID passport, was out there advocating that we all have to have digital IDs because the future will be digital. You shouldn't have privacy, apparently. Yeah, that's what she believes. She claims that the IDs can be a real booster to emerging economies. The trick is to build public digital infrastructure, she said, that is interoperable, open to all, and trusted. Joining me now to explain just how dangerous this is, Nigel Farage, former Brexit Party leader. Nigel, this is about global government control and a way to, what, redistribute the wealth away from the so-called wealthy nations to everybody else?
Well, it's about control, isn't it? I mean, this is the most glaring example we've ever seen from a prominent world leader. Von der Leyen is the president of the European Commission, 450 million people living within that union. Oh, and by the way, she's unelected, she's appointed, and here she is brazenly saying we need a digital ID card or app on our phones. Now, bear in mind, France and Germany are trialing this already. The European Union, she wants this to be enforced by the early 2030s and, may I add, backed up by a central bank digital currency, living in a cashless society, and now she wants the whole thing to go global. Can you imagine? On this ID card will be not just your date of birth, your gender, your eye color, your height, your approximate weight. There will be your vaccine status, your financial status, and goodness knows what else will be on that card. Can you imagine this data falling into the hands of bad actors? And if you think about it,
that's all.
And I speak as somebody who's recently been debanked as a result of his political opinions, and this is happening in America too, as you well know, to lots of people. If we're not careful, we head towards a Chinese-style social credit system where unless you go along with the views of the day, you become a non-person. I cannot think of a more dangerous initiative than this. The problem we've got is we have to ask a question whether our leaders actually believe in our nation, because they're prepared to surrender sovereignty to the World Health Organization, the United Nations, the EU, and goodness knows what comes after that. And the truth of it is, the world will be a better, more prosperous, peaceful place if democratic nation states cooperate and trade together, not give away their powers to unelected bureaucrats. And that was the Brexit message all those years ago. I now think what our little island did becomes a stronger message for the world, and in particular, after what von der Leyen said. We simply have to say, no, we believe in liberty, we believe in freedom, we believe in the nation state.
And the private head of the EU Central Bank are the co-owners of the private Federal Reserve that refused to lower interest rates today. They've lowered interest rates multiple times this year for the EU. Now, Nick Fuentes is coming up about 22 minutes from now. We'll have the main debate discussion. So go to Real Alex Jones on X.
All right, so we have a secondary perspective that Trump instituting these stable coins is instituting multiple stable coins, which create multiple ecosystems, which will fight against the globalist central bank digital currency. Makes all the sense in the world, but we have to dig into it. Now, we're not going to dig into that right now. We're going to make that a note. And how do we do that? Because I think it's boring to dig into that live on camera with you guys. You don't want to see me digging into that live. You know what I'm saying?